This is how a small Appalachian League of Women Voters in Ohio works to empower women and the entire community. We are the Chillicothe Ross League of Women Voters.
Hello, my name is Tammy Simpkins. I'm a lifelong resident of Ross County, Ohio, a mother, grandmother, and sadly, a recent widow, who in a matter of days will be commemorating the 1-year anniversary of my beloved husband, Tom Simpkins' passing. Tom always supported my work immensely from behind the scenes. From being in the background of the countless calls and Zoom calls over the years to traveling with me to Washington, D.C., he was always there. And in keeping his memory at heart and alive, I am inspired to carry on with this work. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Chillicothe, Ross County, Ohio, here in the USA, I am honored to welcome all of you to our exhibitors booth at the 66th Annual United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, the 50th anniversary of this conference. Our league has worked with Helene de Boissiere Swanson and of Katrina's Dream since 2019, when we hosted a satellite event in conjunction with their Let's Pass the Equal Rights Amendment parallel event at the United Nations. We wish to express our sincere gratitude to them for providing this opportunity for us to introduce to the world our historic Appalachian community. Thank you and welcome.
Before we begin our presentation, the Chillicothe Ross League of Women Voters would like to take this time to honor Sarah Rogers Skinner, who served as our president from January 2021 through October 2021. She forced us to face our technological fears and enter the 21st century. Thank you, Sarah. Hello, my name is Dawn Zarbash. I've been a league member for, I think I lost track, but at least 18 years. I would like to introduce you to the Chillicothe Ross League of Women Voters. We are the Chillicothe Ross League of Women Voters, part of a national grassroots political organization encouraging the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We work to increase understanding of major public policy issues. We bring positive change through education and advocacy. We work to make democracy work. The League of Women Voters of the United States of America was founded in 1920. The Chillicothe Ross League of Women Voters has been active in our community since 1927. We are proudly nonpartisan in a time of bitter partisan strife. Where we are matters. Chillicothe is the capital city of Ross County in the state of Ohio. According to government statistics, Appalachian communities are typically poorer, have less resources, and older infrastructure systems when compared to other areas of the United States. Like any other Appalachian area, we have stereotypes to disregard. In spite of these obstacles, we believe in our ability to make positive changes in our local area. This is the first step in empowerment. Our town's name, Chillicothe, derives from a Shawnee word that means place where people gather. There is a rich heritage of history, even before the Shawnee settled here. During the time of Rome, our area had the largest and most advanced culture in what is now the United States. This native population is known as the Hopewell civilization. Our area was a spiritual gathering point for this vast, impressive culture, who built mounds to commemorate and guide their community. Because of all this, we are up for consideration as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Chillicothe became the first capital of the state of Ohio in 1803. While our area's history may not be well known to the rest of the world yet, we take great pride in our historical landmarks and beautiful parks. We have learned that knowledge of ourselves is a great form of empowerment. Because of her passion for our town and county, one of our members was able to recover some history previously unknown to many of us. This knowledge now serves as a source of inspiration in our work for women in our community.
Hello, I am Patrice Allen Hussey. I have been a league member for 3 years. I would like to share with you the legacy of one of Chillicothe's important civil rights and suffrage activists. Carrie Williams Clifford, daughter, educator, wife, mother, activist, writer, poet, and suffragist, was born in September of 1862 in Chillicothe, Ohio. Carrie Clifford contributed to the first wave of feminism and the suffrage movement through her poetry as well as her active duties in clubs and organizations. There is little recorded evidence of her early childhood in Chillicothe, but as a youth, she and her family moved to Columbus, Ohio. Carrie attended an integrated high school where she was recognized as a brilliant student and graduated with honors. Carrie left the state of Ohio to become a school teacher. In 1886, she married William H. Clifford, a young politician from Cleveland who would later serve twice as a state representative of Cuyahoga County. Together, they moved back to Cleveland. Mrs. Clifford and Harriet Price, a local teacher, started the Minerva Reading Club. Under her leadership, the Minerva Reading Club would become the first Ohio club to join the NACW, or National Association of Colored Women, and launch Clifford's career in club work. In 1901, Mrs. Clifford was the major force responsible for the founding of the Ohio Federation of Colored Women's Clubs, or OFCWC, the first of at least 16 such organizations in the United States. With Clifford as president, the Federation promoted temperance, women's suffrage, and civil rights, working under the motto of deeds, not words. After moving to Washington, D.C., she worked intensively with the Niagara Movement and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, to further include women in Black activism and work to protect the rights of Black families. Along with her club work, Mrs. Clifford was a prominent writer. During her time as president of the OFCWC, she launched a newspaper, Queen's Gardens, and later compiled a magnificent little booklet entitled Sewing for Others to Reap, containing some of the best thoughts of the colored women of Ohio. Mrs. Clifford wrote articles for Crisis, a publication by the NAACP and Alexander's Magazine, and was selected by the publishers of the Cleveland Journal as editor-in-chief of the women's edition and achieved notable success with the enterprise. At the same time, she continued to publish her poetry, frequently using her work in promotional materials for the OFCWC. Her poem and song, Marching to Conquest, was published, along with much of her other poetic work, in Alexander's Magazine, and detailed the organization's mission, Marching to Conquest. We are battling for the right with purpose, strong and true. 'Tis a mighty struggle, but we pledge to dare and do, pledge to conquer evil, and we'll see the conflict through. Marching and marching to conquest, all the noble things of life will teach our girls and boys, warn them of its pitfalls and reveal its purest joys. counsel, guide, and keep them from the evil that destroys, marching and marching to conquest. Later, Mrs. Clifford published 2 books of poetry which covered a variety of topics related to the Black experience in America, Race Rhymes in 1911 and The Widening Light in 1922. Her poetry was very political and used as a tool to connect with the African American community. She not only wrote about African American women in her poetry, but also the blood that is on the white man's hands for the unimaginable crimes performed on Black lives. Mrs. Clifford unpacked all the issues that Black women, men, and children had to endure during the 19th and early 20th centuries. She created a strong and stable structure for Black women's voices to be heard and recognized. Together, oh, come, love, let us take a walk down the way of life. Together, storms may come, but what care we, if be fair or foul the weather? When the sky overhead is blue, balmy, scented winds will after us, adown the valley blow, haunting echoes of our laughter. When life's storms upon us beat, crushing us with fury, after all is done, they'll ringing come, mocking echoes of our laughter. So we'll walk the way of life, you and I, love, both together. Storm or sunshine, happy we, if be foul or fair the weather.
Hello, my name is Margaret Planton. I have been a League member for 43 years. Let me tell you about the National League, the United Nations, and our local league decades ago. Our League members wanted to learn about the Dumbarton Oaks proposals. The Dumbarton Oaks Conference was held in August 1944. At a meeting celebrating 25 years of the National League in February of 1945, our league had a speaker from Ohio University explain the 4 main parts of the proposal. The plan was for an international organization based on the principles of sovereign equality of all peace-loving nations. It is to have a General Assembly of member nations, a Security Council of leaders, an international court, and the Secretariat to keep records. In April of 1950, our League president, Mrs. Virgil Hess, attended the National League Convention in Atlantic City. Women observers from 6 other countries were at the convention with help from the Carrie Chapman Catt Memorial Fund, established in 1947. 900 members debated and endorsed the United Nations and expressed the desire to work to strengthen it. They supported a strong, effective United Nations to promote international peace and security to address the social, economic, and humanitarian needs of all people. A noted speaker was from the International Alliance of Women. The United Nations recognizes the League of Women Voters and the International Alliance of Women with consultative status. On the local level, United Nations Day of October 24th was celebrated in 1950 with an essay contest. Peggy Ann Irwin, an 8th grader, stated in her essay, quote, "Great works of the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, such as providing clothing and medical care to millions of boys and girls. Other boys and girls are given an education by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, by the Food and Agriculture Organization, another United Nations agency. They help underdeveloped countries to improve farming to increase food production. By the World Health Organization, they help to combat disease and improve health in war-torn countries. The International Refugee Organization helped to bring many poor homeless refugees and displaced persons to America, thus beginning a new life of comfort and ease to the people who knew nothing but war and hardship." End quote. Over the next 2 decades, the League held many programs about the UN and hosted programs in the schools for UN Day on October 24th. For example, the situation in Korea and just what is communism were topics. Our League continued promoting the UN throughout the 1960s. In 1964, Beth Schwartz presented a program on Japanese history and culture. In 1965, we celebrated the 20th anniversary of the UN with a special tea. We also provided displays and speakers in the local schools. 2 local public libraries helped us with materials, and there was special media coverage. The programs in the schools focused on speakers about what it is like to live in other countries. Various speakers came dressed in costume and brought items from other countries: Australia, Finland, Japan, Austria, India, Philippines, Czechoslovakia, Germany, Scotland, Palestine, and Egypt.
Hello, I'm Stacy Knipp. I joined the League in 2021. I will share with you Margaret's research of our League's long history of social action for women and children in our community. In the 1950s, our League helped with the creation of Roten, a home and farm to become a center for delinquent juveniles. In 1952, a committee on children and youth met to discuss issues of health and welfare relating to the Piketon County A-bomb project. A program topic was, shall we cook or be cooked by atomic energy? 1965 saw an increase in our League's work on programs for youth. The Roten Juvenile Detention Center was open. The need for a daycare center for preschool children was a primary topic. The effort started with volunteers and the dedicated work of Mrs. Marjorie McIntyre at the Carver Community Center. A related program was an early form of Head Start with volunteers tutoring in the schools. League was part of the groups who created Community Action and worked to join the city and county health departments to better serve the citizens. A very important accomplishment of several League members of the Juvenile Justice Study was working from 1969 to 1972 to help set up the County Juvenile Probation Department. This work was inspired by a 1968 Christian Science Monitor article stating that Ross County had the worst juvenile justice system in the country. Local, state, and federal agencies and League members worked to establish a program and find funding. In 1974, former League President Dolores McBride was hired as a liaison between the juvenile court and probation, and from 1977 to 1981, she was a probation officer, while other League members worked as volunteers. In April 1976, an alert was issued that the county commissioners were going to shut down the probation department. The League and others protested, and the commissioners retracted the closure. Over the years, there were also fun and informative programs held portraying women of our history. In 1977, there was a costumed program of Women of the White House. In 1979, a program portraying ladies from our past was offered. In 1979, the county began an effort to improve or replace the 1853 jail for men and women. Our League filled a seat on the planning board, sending a member for training in jail building. We continued to study and support the project for 10 years. The entire community got involved to pass a levy to create a city and county law enforcement complex. Also, in the early 1980s, the safety of our children in the city schools was of great concern. A large study committee worked with the schools for several years. In 1984, bond issues passed to repair roofs and to remove asbestos from the city schools. Yearly program updates have continued for our members and the community. In the 1990s, a series of programs about women in many professions was held. Healthcare, mental health, and health insurance were also highlighted. Women in law enforcement brought up the topics of family violence and child abuse and protection. The formation of the Child Protection Center was supported by League members and other community organizations. In 2000, League members took portrayals of women of the past to various schools. That year, we also hosted Granny D, who was walking across America for campaign form. Such a courageous woman. In the 2000s, collaboration of women's groups became a way of expanding all our community involvement. Building the Future was a first empowerment program for women which brought groups together.
This is Dawn again. I'd like to introduce you to our Equal Rights Amendment warrior, Tammy Simpkins. Tammy became an advocate for the ratification of the 1972 Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA, in 2012, and has worked for ratification through the 3-state strategy ever since. She was presented with the Ohio University Chillicothe Heritage Day Award for her work on the ERA the same year. She co-authored and coordinated the successful We the People 2013 ERA White House petition, which officially put the Obama administration on the record as a supporter of the ERA and brought grassroots ERA advocates together, especially through social media. Here is Tammy to update us on the current status of the ERA.
Now I'll share with you our League's work on the Equal Rights Amendment. The current status of the 1972 Equal Rights Amendment is that it is currently blocked from certification and publication as the 28th Amendment. The nonpartisan Senate Joint Resolution 1, removing the deadline for the ratification of the ERA, is held up in the Senate. Currently, 53 senators support it, and it is nonpartisan. Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown is a co-sponsor of the resolution, while Ohio Senator Rob Portman is not. The nonpartisan House Joint Resolution 17, which is identical to the Senate Joint Resolution, passed the House of Representatives on March 17, 2021. Ross County Representatives Winstrip and Stivers voted against the resolution. Virginia became the 38th state to ratify the ERA on January 27, 2020. This was the final state required for ratification. The Archivist of the United States refused to certify Virginia's ratification until he hears from a court because the Department of Justice issued a negative opinion of the ERA's viability in 2020. He has already certified Nevada in 2017 and Illinois in 2018. Federal lawsuits continue today, both for and against the Equal Rights Amendment. The League of Women Voters of the United States has supported the ERA since the 1950s and renewed their commitment to ratification by resolution at the National Convention in July of 2018. The Chillicothe-Ross League of Women Voters can currently trace ERA support back to the 1970s. Since 2014, the Chillicothe-Ross League of Women Voters has been working on renewed ratification efforts, especially on the joint resolution removing the deadline for the ratification of the ERA. Ohio is a ratified state since it ratified the ERA in 1974, but it does not have a state ERA. The Chillicothe-Ross League's ERA committee formed in 2018. As you can see, our local league has hosted and participated in several events to educate the public and to advance the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, including community programs and film screenings, as well as participating in national and international conferences. In addition, we have endorsed other national events that advocate for the rights of women. Our local league's ERA committee has been working hard to educate our members and our community. Committee members began promoting ratification of the ERA at home in 2018. Committee members increased activity in 2019, including sending letters to legislators and designing and distributing action cards to encourage others to contact legislators. From 2020 on, our ERA committee members ramped up efforts to engage community members and to connect them with legislators, in addition to expanding contacts with legislators and their representatives on a more regular basis. So how can you join the fight for the Equal Rights Amendment? Demand ERA now. Tell your elected legislators you demand the ERA now and why. Contact them every week. Amplify your voice by getting involved. Join the League of Women Voters of the United States of America. Join the League of Women Voters of your state. Join your local league and engage your community to fight for women.
The Chillicothe-Ross League of Women Voters thanks you for your time and attention. We hope you have found a few examples of how you can work with the women in your community to make a positive difference.
On our website at lwvchillicothe.org/ERA, we have an entire page dedicated to our ERA committee activities. It lets you know if you want to be part of the LWV Chillicothe ERA Action Committee. This is how and when you get a part of that. At the bottom, we have the information that Helene was talking about, contacting Senator Rob Portman. This is the information, how to get in touch with him about bipartisan Senate SJ Res 1. It also gives you information if you want to stay involved with what we're doing. You can join a call that is had Wednesdays at noon. So all of that information is available on our website at lwvchillicothe.org/ERA. So that's kind of our action. Is we want people to contact their reps. We want, and of course for us, for Ohio, that means Senators Portman and Senators Brown. So that is our call to action. We want people to not only do that call yourself, but we want you to get 10 people, 10 friends, and get them to do that as well. And you can refer them to our page with that information to have, so that they have the numbers to call our senators.